Hey everyone, this is the Hot Revenge community. Ready to listen to a new hot story? Then get comfortable and we're starting.
The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character.
The downtown Chicago establishment had the scent of serious wealth and discreet negotiations. We were there to celebrate my older brother Garrett's latest professional advancement. My mother, Alina, held up her champagne glass, watching the crystal catch the light. She offered my brother that perfect, polished smile reserved only for him. "To my son," she proclaimed, "the one who makes this family truly proud." She let her statement linger. Her eyes then found me sitting at the far side of the table. "Some children bring honor," she continued, keeping her tone light and friendly. "Others are just taking up space." The assembled guests offered a thin, uncomfortable chuckle. Have you ever felt like the marginalized one or the family scapegoat? Share your experiences in the comments section below. I held my mother's stare. A small, tranquil smile appeared on my face as I calmly placed my cloth napkin onto the mahogany table. Then I rose to my feet. The sharp sound of my chair scraping back was the only noise in the room. "It's a good thing I finally secured my own apartment," I stated, my voice clear and unwavering. I added that it was located far away. I looked toward my father, Lawrence, who was paused mid-sip with his drink. My gaze returned to my mother. "Don't worry. You won't ever have to observe me wasting your space again." I turned sharply and left the private dining area. I wasn't waiting around for a reaction. I certainly didn't need an apology. All I desired was fresh air. The intense Chicago night air hit me, and for the first time in my 28 years, the simple act of breathing felt like an achievement. I had been the secondary child for nearly 3 decades. My brother, Garrett, was the undisputed star. He was seen as having great potential, destined for the world of finance, and a direct reflection of my mother's aspirations. I, however, was the quiet one, the artist, the perennial scapegoat. In our household, affection functioned purely as a business deal, and I was perpetually considered a poor investment. My records confirmed this fact. When my brother received a DUI during college, our parents quietly secured him a brand new vehicle and covered the monthly payments. When I desperately needed capital for a crucial graphic design certification, the qualification that could grant me independence, my parents consented to help. They sat me down right at that same dining table. My father slid a document across the shiny wood surface. It was a formal loan contract for $7,200. My own mother and father demanded 12% annual interest. They insisted I sign an official, notarized agreement. My father watched me sign my initials on every single page, his face devoid of emotion, exactly like he was finalizing a transaction with a total stranger. That explained our relationship perfectly. I was a low-priority, high-interest debtor. My brother was the valuable asset. I spent 3 years meticulously clearing that obligation. I budgeted tightly, lived extremely frugally, and often skipped meals. All the while, I watched them lavish my brother with continuous opportunities and extravagant gifts. I wasn't just their daughter. I was a liability entry on their accounting ledger. That $7,200 loan delivered a crystal-clear message. It was a line drawn and fixed permanently. When my brother totaled his expensive German car after his DUI, my father co-signed paperwork for a new one instantly, even before the insurance payout arrived. My brother's recklessness was dismissed as a minor mishap. My needs were simply costs. Garrett was family. I was merely an employee in the family enterprise, expected to bear all my own operating expenses. I understand what thoughts are crossing your mind. Why did I sign that paperwork? Why did I remain in that situation for so long? Why did I agree to a 12% loan from my own mother and father? Explaining the mindset of a long-term scapegoat is difficult. You live trapped inside a facility that needs no physical bars because the walls are constructed from your own lingering optimism. You constantly believe that if you just remain quieter, perform better, or achieve slightly more success, if you just pay off the debt, if you just truly demonstrate loyalty, one day they will finally acknowledge you. You survive on the small fragments of their approval. You become so desperate for it that you eventually mistake those scraps for a complete meal. There is a psychological term that fits this: learned helplessness. It functions as a defense mechanism. Year after year, you are systematically conditioned to believe that resistance only makes your situation worse. So you simply stop fighting back. You become accustomed to tolerating it. You learn to minimize yourself and occupy less space. This was never a sign of weakness. This was the protective armor I needed to forge just to survive living in that home. I had become so proficient at being obedient, so skilled at being the dependable one, that I forgot I was simply playing a designated role. But everything fundamentally shifted that night inside the restaurant. When my mother delivered those specific words, "Others just take up space," it was far more than an insult. It felt like a definitive professional diagnosis. She wasn't just expressing her opinion of me. She was telling me that my entire history of effort, my years of dutiful payment, and my attempts to be the ideal daughter had amounted to zero. The family ledger was built on a lie. I was never going to truly earn her affection. In that single instant, my invisible restraints snapped. My survival instincts finally deactivated. I wasn't merely exiting a dining room. I was walking out of a self-built prison I had occupied for 28 years. Before I even managed to unlock the front door to my new place, my phone was vibrating continuously. A text message appeared from my mother, Alina. "You have completely embarrassed this entire family. Call me right away." I deliberately ignored the notification. I stepped inside my tiny apartment and finally, truly, inhaled deeply. The air had never felt so clean and crisp. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my father, Lawrence. "Your mother is heartbroken. You must apologize for this incredibly selfish, theatrical display." I dropped my keys into the ceramic bowl by the entryway. Another buzz. "My brother, Garrett. Rhea, that was totally messed up. Just contact them." They were not remorseful. They weren't reflecting on their actions at all. They were furious that I had deviated from the expected script. They were enraged that the main scapegoat had abruptly walked off the stage midway through their performance. I calmly prepared a cup of herbal tea, noticing my hands were perfectly steady. I settled onto my sofa and watched the constant light of my phone illuminate the dark room. Call from Mom. Call from Dad. Another call from Mom. Then a notification popped up from social media. My mother had posted something publicly. I clicked the link. There it was, a beautiful, smiling photo of her and Garrett from the event. The attached caption read, "So deeply proud of my phenomenal son. It's genuinely heartbreaking when certain children forget the intense sacrifices their parents have made for them. We can only pray they eventually find their proper path back home." The comments section was already filling up. "You are such a fantastic mother, Alina. Thinking of you." It was a stroke of genius, truly. She had instantly rewritten the entire narrative. I wasn't a person who had been publicly shamed. I was now characterized as a lost, ungrateful child who was deliberately inflicting pain upon her. I set my phone down flat. That particular post was the final piece of evidence I required. It confirmed that her toast was not a careless mistake. It was an explicit mission statement. So I focused on what I always did best. I organized myself. I did not make a call. I did not text back. I refused to engage with the social media drama. I opened my laptop computer, pulled up my bank's online portal, and checked the outstanding balance on family loan contract number 114B, $411,258. I selected the option Make Payment. I manually entered the entire remaining sum. I hit the Submit button. I watched the confirmation page load completely. Next, I opened my email client. I composed a new email addressed to my mother, my father, and my brother. The subject line read, "Family loan contract 114B paid in full." I kept the email body succinct, extremely professional, and icy cold. Per the attached bank receipt, the financial obligation dated October 14th, 2020 for $7,200 plus 12% accrued interest has now been completely settled. My financial and familial commitments are fully discharged. Do not try to contact me again. I attached the PDF documenting the bank's final transfer confirmation. I hit send immediately. It felt precisely like closing an accounting ledger. that had remained open for my entire life. The silence from them was immediate. The continuous calls and texts instantly stopped. They had zero leverage left. The loan was the last chain on me. I had just handed them the broken links. The next few weeks were a confusing blur of logistics. My move to Seattle was now a hard deadline. I sold my old furniture, boxed my books, and started sorting my life into two piles. Things to keep and things to leave. In the keep pile, I found it. An old manila folder from my grandmother's estate. She had died when I was 22. I barely looked at the contents then. Now, while sorting, I saw a letter. It was from her lawyer, mentioning a small college fund she created for me. I assumed it was used up years ago, but I was tying up all loose ends. I called the law firm. I half expected the fund to be empty. The original lawyer retired, but his partner pulled my file. He sounded hesitant. "Miss Rhea," he said, his voice quiet, "I see a discrepancy in the account ledger." I froze. What kind of discrepancy? The fund held just over $5,700, but a full withdrawal happened 5 years ago, March 12th. My mind raced. 5 years ago, I never withdrew that money, I told him. I thought it was just gone. There was a pause. I heard papers shuffling. "Well, we have the withdrawal form here. It was mailed in. But looking at the signature, it doesn't match the other documents in your file." My blood ran cold instantly. "Can you please email me a copy of that form?" The email arrived in 5 minutes. Subject: estate file. I opened the scanned PDF. There it was, a withdrawal request for $5,700 and a signature. It was a shaky, clumsy copy of my handwriting. It was undeniably my mother's signature. I checked the dates. I pulled up my scanned family loan contract. The loan date was March 26th. That was exactly 2 weeks after my mother had forged my name and emptied my fund. The realization hit me hard. I couldn't breathe. She didn't lend me money. She stole $5,700 from me. She stole my grandmother's gift. Then she added $1,500, called it a family loan, and made me sign a notarized contract. She charged me 12% interest on my own stolen money. This was not humiliation. This was not just being a scapegoat. This was a crime. The calls for reconciliation started 2 days later. My mother, Alina, sent a long, tearful text. "Rhea, this has gone on too long. I'm exhausted. Your father is worried. Can we just meet and talk as a family?" She was a great performer. She painted herself as the heartbroken mother trying to save her family. I agreed to meet at a public cafe. Neutral ground. She was already there, dabbing her eyes with a napkin. She looked soft and vulnerable in her cashmere. She looked like a caring mother. "Rhea," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Thank you for coming. This is tearing us all up. Your father." I stayed standing. I didn't order coffee. "I know about Grandma's college fund," I stated. The performance stopped immediately. Her mask cracked. The tears vanished. Her face went blank with shock. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, but the polish was gone. I reached into my bag and slid the file across the table. The withdrawal slip for $5,700, dated March 12th, and the forged signature. She stared at the paper. Color drained from her face. She looked up. The victim act was over. Only raw panic remained. "Rhea, you don't understand," she whispered. "I understand perfectly," I said. My voice was cold and flat, like the marble table. "You stole my inheritance. Then you had the nerve to loan it back to me with 12% interest. It was for Garrett," she finally broke, the words rushing out. "He had debts. I was going to pay it back, I just needed to." "You planned to pay it back by charging me interest," I finished for her. She started crying again, this time messy and real. "I knew you were responsible. I knew you'd pay the loan because I'm the scapegoat," I finished. "The one who always pays, the one who's good for it, the one who takes up space." I pushed the next document across the table. It was from my new lawyer. "That is a legal demand for repayment." The $5,700 you stole plus the $2,400 in fraudulent interest I paid over 3 years. You have 30 days. Ria, please, she begged, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. You will ruin me. Your father can't find out. You didn't just take up space, Mom, I said, looking down at her. You took up my whole future and you charged me for the trouble. I turned and left the cafe. I did not look behind me. I left her with the consequences of her own choices. Months passed quickly. The damp chill of Chicago gave way to the soft, green rain typical of Seattle. My new apartment was small, but the ceilings were high and the light was good. My graphic design company, just me, my laptop, and lots of coffee, was thriving. It was far more than surviving. The legal battle ended quietly. It was not a bang, just a routine clerical signature. My mother, Alina, settled the case outside of court. I received a wire transfer for $8,100. I later heard from an aunt that my mother had been forced to sell her car to raise the money. It was the vehicle my brother usually drove. I am sure that public humiliation was worse for her than the financial loss itself. I was working late one Tuesday, finalizing documents for a client. My phone vibrated with a text message from an unfamiliar number. Ria, it's Garrett. I don't know if you'll actually read this. Mom finally confessed what she did. The forgery, the whole truth about the loan. I'm truly disgusted. I just want you to know I always hated that family dynamic. I simply was not strong enough to stand up to it. You were strong. I stared at the message. My heart was racing. Another text came immediately. I'm wiring $12,000 to your business account right now. This is not a loan. It is an investment in your potential. I always knew you were the smart one. I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. A third message followed. A confirmation receipt for the wire transfer. I sank back into my chair. The screen's glow highlighted the tears now falling down my cheeks. This was not about the money. It was because, after so many years, a lifetime of being the spare child, the one who just took up space, someone had finally acknowledged me, and it was the one person I had been trained my whole life to resent. I opened my laptop. I located the old, detailed file I had maintained for years, the family ledger spreadsheet. I looked at the very last entry for family loan contract 114B. I had already marked it, paid in full. I stared at the precise numbers, at the record of years of careful, painful accounting, the record of every single injustice, every transaction, every line item that proved my right to be angry. Then I right-clicked the file. I hit the delete button. I finally understood the real meaning of letting go. It is not about simply forgiving someone. It is not about erasing the memory of the debt. It is about deciding you are finished being the accountant. It is about accepting that certain people belong firmly in your history, but they are not your destiny. We are taught to believe that blood creates the strongest connection, that family is our only fortress. But sometimes, it is just a confinement we were born into. The bravest thing you can possibly do is not fight for a small position inside it. It is finding the internal strength to pick the lock, walk away permanently, and then learn how to define yourself. This is a note for everyone who has ever felt like they were living on the periphery of their own family unit. To the person who was constantly too sensitive, too difficult, or simply too much. To the person who learned to shrink down to be the peacekeeper, to sacrifice your own needs so you wouldn't disturb anyone else's comfort. I need you to hear this truth. You are not difficult. You are simply in a room that is too small for your potential. You are not too sensitive. You are simply finely attuned to the injustice everyone else has chosen to ignore. Your intrinsic value is not determined by their inability to recognize it. You do not need to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. It is absolutely okay to walk away. It is okay to create your own chosen family. It is okay to be the one strong enough to break the cycle permanently. Your life is not a mere obligation. It is a unique story. Go write the next chapter now.